Okay, well, I'm joined by the wonderful James Doe. James Doe is the head honcho of Non-League Day. Non-League Day has been going now, to my records anyway, since 2010. A brilliant initiative. First of all, James, hello.
Hi there.
Hi.
Great to be on the go.
First, James, please, could you just tell us, why you got this started, and like for the people that don't know what Non-League Day is, like what's kind of its remit? I mean, I've seen that there's even Premier League clubs have been involved. Could you just tell us a bit more about it?
Okay, so in a nutshell, Non-League Day is primarily just an event to drive up attendance at non-league matches. To maximise this, we schedule the day on an international weekend for an international break, so there are no Premier League or Championship games to go up against. This is serves a sort of double purpose in that there's lots of fans washing around without the game who might want to go and see something else. And secondly, pick this up because they haven't got much else to do. And it seems to work. So, yeah, we first did it in 2010, as you rightly said, when I kind of had a bit of a eureka moment because I was watching QPR, who are my football league team that I follow.
Yeah, and they were mine back in the day, by the way, James.
Oh,
so, yeah, I'm originally from West London, so yes, many a day I climbed over the wall to get into that Loftus Road. So yeah,
lovely stuff. Yeah, I was on a pre-season tour with them, watching them down in Devon,
cool.
And they had a game against Tavistock. Neil Warnock was the manager at the time, and he always takes whoever he's managing down there, because I believe he lives down that sort of part of the world. And so Tavistock were hosting it, and as we sort of came into town, it was obvious how massive just this pre-season game against QPR was. I mean, there were posters for it all around town. I seem to remember seeing one on the side of a bus, and it was a really big deal. And we sort of got there, the QPR fans had turned out in force. The place was packed to the rafters, and we were treated really, really well by the Tavistock fans and officials. It was a really nice experience, and everything went really well. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if there are times when, fans of the big clubs went out and watched non-league more and more, more than they do now. But I didn't really think much of it. And then I went back to London, and a week or two later to go and watch the non-league team that I support, which is Harrow Borough.
Okay.
And they were holding a fundraiser for floodlight bulbs. And I thought, well, this is a bit strange. I just thought that was a sort of fairly routine cost for a club of their size. I wouldn't have thought they needed to do that. But then it occurred to me we still, in the aftermath of the financial crash of 2008. And as I sort of looked around, I sort of found out there were a lot more non-league clubs who were really struggling. And I suddenly thought, now then, what can I do? And then for some reason I just suddenly noticed that there was an international break coming up about 6 weeks later at the beginning of September. And I think it's the first one that had ever happened where England weren't actually playing on the Saturday. They were playing on the Friday night.
Yeah.
I suddenly thought, wow, there's this big gap. We could do something here, and I just, I didn't think anything of it, but I just thought, I'll create a Facebook event and just send it to my friends just to try and get them to go and watch their local clubs.
Yeah.
And it turned out that my friends on Facebook, some of whom were quite into non-league, and I didn't actually realise it, and they sort of forwarded it on, and it became viral. And yeah, 6 weeks later, I had a national event on my hands, and it was all a bit bonkers. And the rest is history. So yeah, that's how it all started.
Yeah, no, marvellous. Because I know, having looked at some of the history of it, you've had Premier League clubs have supported this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've got any particular instances you want to mention of good work from some of the clubs. Yeah.
So what's been really interesting is how over the last few years our relationship with the Premier League itself has got really good. They do a lot to encourage their member clubs to get involved. And it's interesting to see how some clubs, how we used to do it, we've got a member of our team who approaches each one of the clubs in the Premier League and in the Championship and sends them an email saying what's going on, what's going on in your locale? Can you sort of, perhaps put an article in your program or whatever? And in the early days, we were lucky to even get a no from the clubs. They'd either ignore us, say no, or whatever. But over the years, and with the backing of the league itself, that has completely changed round. So, the biggest clubs in the land, Liverpool, Man City, are particularly helpful. Down in London, Arsenal have always got involved. I remember they have their very strong relationship with Boreham Wood, and the first thing they did with them was, when Boreham Wood were away, they would give them their team coach, the bus, with Arsenal all over it, and take them to their away games, which at the time was quite a big deal. I say, routinely we get lots of social media coverage, program articles. Some clubs will put a match finder on their own website, saying, put in your postcode and find your local match. It's beyond my wildest dreams. The Premier League themselves put marketing out in some of their emails, and on their website they do stories about players that have come from non-league. They have put together a non-league 11, Premier League 11 most years, to show who's come through the ranks and all the rest of it. And they couldn't be much more helpful compared to some organisations who I won't name, who I think could do more in the football world.
You can name them. You can name them, please, James. Please, you can name them.
Well, it begins with F and ends in A.
Yeah.
And they don't.
I know what that stands for.
Yes. They haven't not done anything, but they're not as enthusiastic as the Premier League have been, and that might surprise some of your listeners, because the Premier League does get quite a bad rap. But over the last few years, they've probably given us and their clubs, if we're a proper corporate business, they've probably given us hundreds and thousands of pounds worth of free advertising, if not millions.
But they're not stupid, are they, James? Because they know that this is let's be honest, this is the bloody lifeblood of football, is the non-league.
And that's a very good point, because I would like to stress that despite what people might think, there are people in the Premier League who do realise that, and who do think like that, because I meet them regularly, and they blatantly said it to me. This is in our interests. It's not just something we're doing for fun or to look good, but it is in the interest of the Premier League and the game in this country.
What league Harrowborough in?
The Southern Premier.
Southern Premier.
Step 3.
I'm obviously Hastings with step 4, and there's a few really good clubs that have sussed out that they need to do this to bring fans in, to do the special days, to do the events, to get the kids in. And there's clubs like ours, Hastings, who are getting great attendances, but there's been a lot of work behind the scenes for that to happen. That isn't just that it magically happens. Teams like Ramsgate as well. Ramsgate, I'm very impressed with them. They're always laying stuff on for kids. But Haywards Heath, teams like that.
Yep.
But then you'll look round and you'll see lots and lots of clubs that are just, it's just desperate. And the more we can highlight, and I'm particularly thinking from a non-league level, so a lot of these clubs that are there, just to kick them a slight little kick up the bum, just look, get these things started, you'll be amazed. As you said, you'd be amazed, once you start talking to people, you realise how much they love the game, they love the non-leagues, that they're involved with this, because this is we're one big family. Whether people want it that or not, that's a different question, but we are, and we can help each other.
I've heard, I think it's I don't know if it's your chairman or your CEO on the non-league show before telling.
Oh, was that Billy Wood? Yeah.
He's done a great job. And we've got some friends at White Hawk along the coast there who've done some amazing things to bring in fans.
Sorry, I didn't mention White Hawk. I do apologise.
But what was I going to say? It is really. You make a very good point about it, how it is very noticeable how some clubs aren't engaging and they're suffering. My own club, Harrow, have been, living very much in the shadow of our illustrious neighbours at Wealdstone for the last God knows how many years, and they have, gone out and they get 10 times as many people through the gate that we do, and they're only a couple of miles down the road. But I'm pleased to say that the penny's dropped, and sort of a younger generation as fans have started to come in just in a few weeks, they've started trying some schemes. And, the crowds are noticeably going up already, even though it's early days. And they're still small compared to some clubs like your own, but they're going in the right direction. So it doesn't take much to get started, but I appreciate that you've got to have the people there, the people with the skills, the people with the ability and the ambition to do it. But, just reaching out a little bit more. I mean, Harrow, they've only embraced social media in the last year or so, which is bonkers. I think they're the highest ranked club to not have an official sort of Facebook or Twitter account, and they have now. So just that alone makes a huge difference.
Well, we're touching there on the volunteers thing there, which is the again, if we didn't have it, because everyone does this for free, mostly. I do. Well, maybe I'm the only one that does. That countless hours. I can reel off 15, 20 people I know from Hastings that give so much of their time, that don't ask for a penny, that do it for the love of the game. And it's just that once you get that ball rolling in terms of people involved with the club, that's when you're, particularly social media, you need someone to do the social media. It's very easy to create a Facebook, a Twitter, and all that sort of stuff, but it's getting that content out there, making it relevant, making it interesting to the people so that people are going to pay attention to it. So
you've got to get the tone right as well, because some people who do these social media, it looks unprofessional, and some of the things they say might be a bit too partisan, especially during match commentaries. And it's, coming from a sort of a sports journalism background, that kind of makes my.
You've seen that White Hawk Twitter. You've seen it, haven't you? No, talking of special things being laid on. I must just mention. We just talking about I think it says here 2013, I think it was, where Bungay Town gave out punnets of mushrooms.
Yeah.
Which has got to be one of the more different things to that. I was a bit concerned that they could have been magic mushrooms, but I'm sure it was just punnets of normal mushrooms.
Yes, I believe so. I think one of their board owned a mushroom farm or something, so he was giving them out as an incentive. But people at Bungay made a bit of a habit of getting something eye-catching going for 2 or 3 years. I don't know what's happened since, but that mushroom story is probably the biggest story ever when it comes to non-league day, certainly for special offers. I think if you search for it, I think it was coming up on something like the New York Times or the Washington Post.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
And the China Day, who were covering it, and all sorts of things. It was around the world, that story. But the year before, I think the first year they did it, they actually paid people to come. They gave you 5p if you turned up.
Oh.
But that's still not quite as exciting as mushrooms.
Yeah, I know.
But,
well, we all love mushrooms, don't we? So
and also, I think it was Great Yarmouth. They gave away free bloaters, because that's their nickname. And they did sort of fish sandwiches, bloaters in a bun or something when you turned up. So that was quite a good one.
Yeah.
Well,
unfortunately for Hastings, though, we're actually away. We're at East Grinstead that day, which is the 26th of March. For everyone that's listening, 26th of March. Now, I will be pestering East Grinstead, and I personally would like if you could give them a little nibble as well about doing something that day, because I know that we're at Hastings for this level. We're a very well supported club, and we will be taking people there. So it would be great if we can get something going at East Grinstead for non-league day, but across the league, to be fair.
Yeah, well, the league themselves, the Isthmian League, are very good and very pro non-league day. So hopefully their messaging will be going out to all the clubs. So hopefully it'll get through to them. But I'm pretty sure East Grinstead have done stuff in the past. So hopefully you won't be disappointed.
Well, we'll be talking about it anyway when we're there. Don't you worry, we'll be telling them. It'll be at the bar. Is this non-league day? So is it free beer? Is it a free program? I'm hoping they got a printed program, because that's one of my bugbears. So James, so you've done this now. This is the 12th year. It's the 12th year of doing this, and obviously the pandemic has Well, it's really hit the non-league. Let's be fair, and we are seeing attendances pick up, as you've said. What's your hopes and goals for the next few years? Where do you see this going?
It's really interesting the effect the pandemic has had on non-league football, because I think some clubs have really, really benefited from it, from the point of view that when they have been allowed to have crowds back, the big clubs haven't, and there's been a kind of non-league day sort of scenario for a lot of clubs over the last few months, going back to last season. Some clubs are getting huge attendances, and I think, some people have stuck with it. I mean, over Christmas just gone, some of the attendances of some of the big sort of Christmas games are absolutely enormous. At the weekend, there's some of these FA Trophy and FA Vase matches, very impressive attendances. So some of these people have definitely stuck and are coming back, and more people are coming in. I'm actually quite excited about this year's non-league day. I think it's got the potential to certainly be, or quite possibly be, the biggest one we've had, because I think there's still a bit of a reaction to the whole European Super League idea as well. I think a lot of people tried out non-league almost as a protest when that happened last year.
Yeah.
I think that's won more people back. I think the Premier League, some of the games are, and the EFL for that matter, some of the games, especially because of the pandemic and the effect it's had on people's finances. Myself, I hardly go and watch QPR.
Yeah.
I've been once this season, and that's mainly down to the fact that I don't see it as good value anymore. Even though the football's really good, I can't justify paying £30 just to take myself when I could go and watch 3 or 4 or 5 non-league matches for the same price. It doesn't make sense to me anymore, even though it's on my doorstep, which is weird. In the immediate term, I want to try and make this non-league day really sort of knockout and the best it's ever been. I mean, we've got more partners lined up than we've ever had, doing all sorts of things, so hopefully that'll help. And then down the line, domestically I want to grow it as big as it can be. I haven't quite cracked taking it over the border into Scotland and Wales and places like that, because the demand for it for some reason isn't there. We've tried, but it just doesn't seem to take. I think the idea, the problem in Wales is that their premier competition is their League of Wales, and although the clubs are, with respect, like non-league teams, the fact that they can get into the Champions League at the end of the season doesn't seem quite right. It's a bit weird, and they don't want to be involved, so that's fine. But we have grown the event in big places like France and Germany, where there are now sort of sister events, and we had this big meeting in Paris a couple of years ago before the pandemic, with all these big plans to have this big day across Europe, and then COVID came and ruined the whole thing. So that was a real shame. But those guys are still hosting their own events independently, so that's really good. But I'd like to coordinate that more and try and make it a big, pan-European day if possible. I mean, that would be brilliant.
Well, if you ever need any help with that, James, I mean, I've got the bug. I really do. I really do have the non-league bug. Hastings has really got me loving football again. So, we actually have funnily enough, we've got a German wing of the Hastings United Supporters Club. They're called the 10 German Bombers. They have called themselves that, so it's not that, and they are German.
Right.
So I'd love to, if you give me after we're done, maybe if you give me the links for the German non-league day, we'd love to get Robert, who runs it. I'd love to message him and tell him about that, because I'm sure the non-league club he's at, which is, I might be getting this wrong, it's Bonn SC, I think is the non-league club he's at. I'll tell you what we need to do. First of all, website. What's that website for us, please, sir?
Okay. Yeah, it's just simply nonleagueday.co.uk. That's it.
And and the Twitter, sir?
Okay, that's a bit more complicated. That's Non-League Day UK. So those are the two main things. We are on Facebook, but it's not as busy as it could be, and Instagram we're just starting to launch, so again that's quite a new thing. But those
are the two main ways to get into contact.
Yeah. And the main feature on the website is, once it's up and running, is the match finder. So you put in your postcode and it will show you what your nearest game is, and that's the biggest thing on our site. Yeah, it gets loads of traffic. So
Oh, excellent. Well, I mean, again, at Hastings, we've also got our own matchday commentary. I will talk to Adam, who runs it, hufcradio.co.uk, and I will make sure he mentions and we promote this going up, because, I mean, it's not far away now, 26th of March, but we will make sure we promote this every week, and hopefully from our small little end, we can help make this grow.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Then you take care, James, and well, see you at the game.
Nice one.
Yeah, take care.